Hello, lovely ladies. It's such a pleasure to see you and serve you. Nothing makes me happier than doing what I can to make your lives better. You've invested the entirety of your life thus far, taking care of everybody else, putting yourself last, and feeling good about making their lives better. You've probably been the giver in the majority of your relationships. So I ask you, do you think it's your turn to be on the receiving end? Don't you think you deserve to have others take care of you? Or at the very least, help you take care of yourself? Well, this video is entitled 14 Red Flags of Menopause Mismanagement. I want to bring to your attention some of the areas in which you are not getting what you deserve from those who care for menopausal women. We are nearing the end of our unit on the problems, principles, and powers of menopause management. I started it in video 186, and I've been covering all sorts of things that lie at the core of how you manage your menopause. In the last video, which was 193, I talked about the role you play in the status of menopause in the world today. And the basic message was that until menopausal women change their own attitudes and behaviors about menopause, nothing else will change. And today, I want to focus on the professionals who serve you. Specifically, I want to discuss their inadequacies. In a way, I'm going to designate the red flags that indicate that you do not have the right professional. So why should you watch this video? Well, you should watch it because it will keep you from wasting a lot of time and enduring a lot of frustration by sticking with the wrong professionals. It's sort of like when you're in the wrong relationship and all your friends can see it, but they don't dare tell you that they see red flags. They don't want to interfere with your happiness. Well, you've lived long enough to know that your happiness is very short-lived in such situations. And when the relationship falls apart, you wish your friends had spoken up in the beginning and brought the red flags to your attention. Well, I'm the friend who has no filter between her brain and her mouth. I'm going to tell you about the red flags. Unlike the situation in a relationship, these red flags will pertain to many different individuals. I'll include all the things that signal complete disregard or ignorance about menopause on the part of the professional, whoever he or she happens to be. So I'll give you 14 red flags. And my hope is that as soon as you detect a red flag, regardless of the situation, you'll either find a different professional or lower your expectations of that professional and get help elsewhere for whatever they are not delivering. Okay, red flag number 1 is lack of preparation. By this, I mean that your healthcare professional should prepare you in advance for menopause. If he or she isn't or didn't, that's a red flag. This tendency to ignore preparation in advance may come in many forms. Sometimes a woman will mention menopause to her doctor at some time in her 40s. If that professional brushes you off with some statement like, "Oh, you're not there yet," or "Don't worry about that until you have to," you are using the wrong professional. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you know that there's a whole lot more to this menopause business than just hot flashes. You cannot wait until you are inundated with symptoms to get the information you need. You deserve advanced preparation. In my OB-GYN practice, I demanded that at age 40, every woman spend 1 hour with me face to face, during which I began preparing her for menopause. If she didn't have time for a full 1 hour appointment with me when she turned 40, I asked her to reschedule the appointment to a time when she could invest a full hour with me. Notice that I used the word invest. I didn't use the word spend. That hour was truly an investment in my patient's future. It laid the foundation for continuing the discussion each year. and they were prepared when menopause arrived. If your medical professional brushes off the topic of menopause or procrastinates in discussing menopause, it's a red flag. It's a preview of things to come, and you should find a different professional for your menopause management. Red flag number 2 is when you complain of a bunch of symptoms of menopause and your healthcare professional responds with, "But your labs are normal." I don't care if you have absolutely perfect values for FSH, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. You are not your labs. Your labs are but a single snapshot in time. Your life is not. Your hormones are always changing. And if your quality of life is wacky, while your snapshot labs are normal, then I believe you more than I believe the lab. If your doctor refuses to discuss the matter beyond the labs, then you have the wrong doctor. It may be that you have some other reason for your symptoms. You could have a thyroid problem. You could have wildly fluctuating sex hormones. You could have a lot of stress with excess cortisol. But to cut you off with a comment about your labs being normal is just plain insensitive. Normal labs should prompt more of a discussion, not less of one. Red flag number 3 is eye rolling. This one is just so demeaning. Eye rolling is what teenagers do. It is not what professionals do, at least not professionals with any modicum of decency. If you have a healthcare professional who rolls his or her eyes in response to anything you say, it is a huge red flag. It implies that they think your complaint is ridiculous. No complaint is ridiculous. Do not ever continue using a professional who rolls his or her eyes at you. You deserve much better than that. You are a respectable menopausal woman. You should not work with a professional who is still a teenager emotionally. Next is red flag number 4. This is the dictum, "You just have to tough it out." This is the 21st century. You do not just have to tough it out. You had to tough it out with puberty. There really wasn't much you could do to make it a lot easier. But such is not the case with menopause. You have a whole smorgasbord of options to make your menopause easier. Video 190 was all about the smorgasbord of options for menopause. The whole reason I provide this education is to ensure that you know about your options. Just as your surgeon would not tell you you have to tough it out and have surgery with no anesthesia, you do not have to tough it out and endure menopause with no relief from the symptoms. If your healthcare provider tells you you have to tough it out, you should get up and walk out. Red flag number 5 is use of the word hysterical. Back in video 61, I taught you that the word hysterical means emotional suffering in the uterus. Hyst or hyster is Greek for uterus. That's why the surgical procedure for removing your uterus is hysterectomy. Back in the 1800s, when only a few women lived long enough to experience menopause, they were labeled hysterical. And they were institutionalized in insane asylums. In this day and age, we know what menopause is. We know it has nothing to do with your being insane, and there is no place for use of the word hysterical. So if your healthcare provider tells you that you're being hysterical with regard to anything, it is a red flag and you need to find another. Red flag number 6 is all too common these days. It's antidepressants. Mood swings, irritability, and depression are 3 of the symptoms of menopause, 3 of the very common symptoms. That, along with the big push from the pharmaceutical companies to push antidepressants on as many people as possible, has resulted in putting menopausal women on antidepressants rather than addressing the cause of the problem, which is estrogen loss. Not only are you not clinically depressed, you are also not in need of the side effects of an antidepressant, some of which augment menopausal symptoms. Drug companies have even started making antidepressants that they market specifically for purposes of menopause. It's crazy. Depression is a symptom of hypothyroidism too. Yet, I've never seen or heard of anyone receiving an antidepressant instead of thyroid hormone for that. And you might have experienced depression during puberty, but no one gave you an antidepressant then either. So if your healthcare provider provides an antidepressant as the solution, it's a red flag and you should find another professional. Red flag number 7 is vaginal lubricants. I've taught you that when you lose your estrogen, your vagina starts shrinking. You experience it by feeling vaginal dryness, itching, burning, and painful intercourse. But what's really happening is that the entire anatomy of your vagina is changing as a result of estrogen deprivation. In other words, you are losing an organ, literally. If you do nothing to prevent vaginal shrinkage, your vagina will become completely useless and the miserable symptoms will continue. When a doctor suggests vaginal lubricants rather than giving you something to stop the shrinkage, it's a red flag. Vaginal lubricants are for nothing but intercourse. They do not preserve your vagina. Actually, they do nothing for you at all. They benefit your male partner, not you. But because of all of the commotion over estrogen, doctors suggest vaginal lubricants instead of suggesting vaginal estrogen. But this is true even though it has been proved absolutely that there are no risk whatsoever with local vaginal estrogen use. So it's absurd for your doctor to ignore the opportunity to save your vagina and choose instead to save your male partner's pleasure. Lubricants are fine for purposes of intercourse, but they are no solution for saving your vagina. If all you get is vaginal lubricants for your vaginal complaints, it's a red flag and you should get a different doctor. Red flag number 8 is incontinence pads. These things are like miniature diapers, but when you put one on, it feels like a huge diaper. They're for collection of urinary leakage, and urinary leakage is indeed a symptom of menopause. And guess why it's a symptom of menopause? Estrogen loss. And the ridiculous thing is that it occurs primarily for the same reason that you have vaginal shrinkage. Your vagina, bladder, and urethra all need estrogen to function properly. And with all sorts of local vaginal estrogen products that alleviate only these symptoms of urinary leakage and vaginal shrinkage, why, oh why, should you wear a diaper? If your healthcare provider suggests that you use incontinence pads instead of explaining why you leak and giving you options for stopping it, it's a red flag. Try to hold your urine long enough to leave the office, but do leave the office for good. Red flag number 9 is calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercise. Obviously, this one pertains to osteoporosis. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is a preamble to osteoporosis, you need a whole lot more than just calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercise. Heck, if you are merely preventing osteoporosis or osteopenia, you need a whole lot more than just calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercise. As I've taught you, bone loss is due to estrogen loss. There is no way that calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercise is going to compensate for estrogen loss. Estrogen is all about bone quantity. Calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercise are all about bone quality. It's gotten to the point that doctors, both traditional and alternative, are suggesting nothing but calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercise for bone loss. And if yours is one of them, you should get lost before you get a fracture that you could have prevented. Red flag number 10 is mantra mocking. If you've been watching my videos, you know that there are various mantras in the world of menopause. Video 130 was all about these mantras. Mantras are phrases that one hears over and over again, and sometimes professionals mock them rather than analyzing them. In other words, they repeat them and use them to take care of you rather than stopping to consider whether or not they make any sense. Most of the mantras make no sense at all. So if you have a healthcare professional who mocks these mantras instead of really communicating with you and personalizing information to you, it's a red flag. Here are the mantras that demonstrate mocking behavior. Estrogen dominance is the cause. Estrogen causes cancer. Estrogen causes heart attacks. Estrogen is dangerous while progesterone is safe. Bioidentical hormones are safe, but synthetic hormones aren't. Estrogen for vaginal symptoms has the same risks as estrogen for other symptoms. Estrogen has no long-term benefits. Take the lowest dosage of HRT for the shortest period of time. Stop HRT after 5 to 10 years. You can't use HRT if someone else in your family had cancer, heart disease, or stroke. If you want more detail on these, just watch video 130. They're all there. So if you're a healthcare professional, mantra mocks, you need to walk. Red flag number 11 is fitness trainers who train menopausal women just like they train everyone else. They induce you to use speed, impact, and heavy weights. And they do this because they have absolutely no education whatsoever on menopause. So they are professionals who are there to serve your menopausal needs, but they have no inkling how to do so. Just think of all the women who need a personal trainer or exercise instructor for the very first time when they battle the weight issues of menopause. Can you believe that there is not one single fitness accreditation that includes anything about menopausal women and our special needs? If you do the same kind of workout that non-menopausal women do, you will hurt yourself significantly. Instead of speed, impact, and heavy weights, you need balance, flexibility, and core. I cringe every time I see a trainer telling a menopausal woman to go faster, jump higher, or lift heavier. Because of this terrible oversight in the fitness industry, I'm actually creating educational products on menopause specifically for fitness professionals. Give me time, and I hope to change the situation. For now, if you have a fitness professional who tells you to go faster, jump higher, or lift heavier, politely decline. Ask to work on your balance, flexibility, and core. These are the things that will prevent you from falling and breaking your hip or spine. Red flag number 12 is a dietitian or nutritionist who recommends any diet that has a beginning and an end, or recommends any eating style that involves skipping meals, especially breakfast. Once again, we have an entire industry that provides services to menopausal women but has no education whatsoever on menopause. They know nothing about the metabolic changes at menopause. They know nothing about the redistribution of fat at menopause. They know nothing about the effect of meal skipping at menopause. So they tell menopausal women to do the same things they tell non-menopausal women to do, and it only augments their problems. The education of dietitians and nutritionists is funded by the meat and dairy industries, so they never learn anything about the benefits of a 100% plant-based diet. That skewed education affects their ability to guide menopausal women in ways that are most beneficial to them. And this is another industry for which I am creating educational products specifically to educate them on the needs of menopausal women. For now, learn what I have to teach you and use your dietitian or nutritionist to help you implement it. Do not expect them to echo what I tell you. They have no knowledge on the matter of menopause. Red flag number 13 is going to shock you. It has to do with pharmacists. And the shocker is that pharmacists have absolutely no education at all on the differences in the hormonal products they dispense. That's right. They know nothing about the differences in the types of estrogen or progesterone. They know nothing about the minimal necessary dosages of estrogen to prevent the diseases associated with menopause. They have no clue that some products send estrogen throughout your body, whereas others are localized to your vagina. They get not 1 second of education on menopause. And yet, all day long, every day, they counsel menopausal women on these products. It's terrible. So the red flag is this. Anytime a pharmacist tells you anything about any product for menopause, ignore it completely. Either ask your doctor about it or set up a consultation with me. The pharmacist knows nothing. And as you might expect, pharmacists are yet another group of professionals for whom I am creating menopause education programs geared specifically for them. So you're seeing that the vast majority of professionals for menopause are woefully unqualified to help you with your menopause. That's why I'm making sure you know these red flags. And finally, red flag number 14 is making jokes about menopause. This one goes for any professional in any capacity. No one, absolutely no one, should make demeaning jokes about menopause. It's insensitive and inappropriate. It's as offensive as jokes about race or religion, and it's just as unproductive. Hopefully, this education will convert menopause from a topic of jokes and disdain to one of praise and prize. If you encounter any professional of any kind who jokes about menopause, it's a red flag. It insinuates that he or she does not take it seriously. And if he or she does not take it seriously, there is no way you'll get what you want for its management. So there you have it, 14 red flags. When you see them, don't ignore them. They are an indication of the uphill battle you will have in addition to what you're already battling. In my one-on-one consultations, I encounter woman after woman who has faced red flags. When they consult with me, I teach them all the steps in avoiding any more red flags. I can do the same for you. So schedule consultations at menopausetailor.me and I'll be happy to help you. Come back in a week when I'll tell you how to change the status of menopause now and forever. I invite you to subscribe. I invite you to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll see you soon. Bye.